Anyways, welcome back to Freedom Free For All. This is the online portion where we can name names. We can discuss the court case that Dan's talking about here. So Dan, you've got some notes here. I'll let you just dive right in.
Yeah. First and foremost, I apologize for the note formation here. It's got a little ways to go here. So when I was on the show last time, I was talking about December 4th, and I was arrested and charged with assault. And I was put on bail conditions from an incident from July 19th, 2015. And you can already kind of smell the BS if this happened in July and I'm being arrested and charged for it in December, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, months later.
Yeah. So as of that December 2015, I started gathering content for a documentary that I wanted to make about being prosecuted without any evidence. One of the things that they did was they put me on these bail conditions for this alleged victim, this person that I allegedly assaulted. And one of the conditions on the bail conditions was that I cannot go where I know he lives. Mm-hmm. And I thought, perfect, I don't know where he lives.
Yeah.
Great, right? Don't have to worry about that. Now that same month, December 2015, Crown Counsel disclosed to me by accident that person's suite and street address. So I didn't know where the guy lived before, and now they've disclosed to me this guy's full address, which that's one thing that you shouldn't want you don't want your local Crown prosecutor to do. If you were a victim of assault, and
you wouldn't want your assaulter, the assaultee, to
exactly
alleged.
So Crown Counsel has now disclosed a victim's address to an angry, violent offender.
Yeah.
And so this whole thing is still proceeding. So at that point, it's still December 2015, and I decided that at that point, now I'm gathering content for a documentary about Crown disclosing a victim's address to an angry, violent offender. The next month, January 2016, I had set a date for what's called a trial confirmation hearing, where everyone shows up and so they say, we're ready to go or we're not ready to go. And we had, this is in January 2016, and I had also set a trial date for a two-day trial in August 2016. So the dates were set in January and the trial was set for August. That's 9 months away. So I knew this guy's address for 9 months plus and took it upon myself to not bother to the guy and don't go anywhere near him, yada, yada, yada. And
well, because you didn't assault him.
No, this is retaliation for me calling him an idiot for him not picking up his own dog poo. Yeah. It's really what it comes down to. And for me calling the police on him because he threatened to break my windows and said I needed to get my ass kicked. Wow. Yeah, yeah, you weren't here for that.
Well, no, I missed that.
So in April 2016, I got called to the Crown Prosecutor's office to pick up a disclosure package. And I decided at that point that I was also going to gather content for a story about how the Crown disclosed a victim's address to a violent, angry offender. So when I went to their office to pick up this disclosure package, I asked if that Crown prosecutor could come out, and I had a question for her. And I had my little HD camera there with me, so while I was waiting for her to come out, I popped it on my head.
Right.
She comes out into the public lobby, and away she goes. I got her on film. I was like, perfect. I'm going to use this for my little movie about her prosecuting me without any evidence and disclosing victims' addresses to the angry, violent people. So she wasn't happy about it at all. So we skip ahead a few months to June. We have the trial confirmation hearing, and everything's good to go. And as August approaches for that trial, I decided to put a complaint forward against this Crown prosecutor to the Law Society. And the Law Society basically oversees anyone who in BC who has like a license to practice law, or like a lawyer. Now, in the process of making that complaint, I had to go to their website and I had to figure out which lawyer it was. And in the process of doing that, they actually give you the lawyer's full name. So their first, middle, and last name. I thought, this is great. I could use this for my story.
Yeah.
They've actually changed that now. So if you go to the Law Society website and you want to make a complaint against a lawyer, they don't give out the middle names. And that's due to what I did. They actually changed that because of me, which is just hilarious.
Yeah.
So the first day of trial in August 2016, I was supposed to show up at 9 a.m., which I did. And the Crown prosecutor, she tries to disclose more information minutes away from the trial starting. And I was like, are you kidding me? You're disclosing new information now? Like, I'm not going to change. Like, I've got everything ready to go. And I literally like dumped it back in her lap. And I said, I'm not taking anything from you. Don't try to serve me anything or disclose anything. And that's when I called her by her full name and middle name. Yeah. And she kind of, I guess she got a little butthurt. So.
How dare you know? Well, demons, it's in that mythology, right? Yeah. Demons don't like it when you know their name.
Exactly.
Yep.
So we were actually told to come back at 10 a.m. to start the trial. So we now had an hour to wait. And I came back at I came back at 10 a.m. And then we were told to come back at 11 a.m. And I'm thinking, how am I going to get this 2-day trial if they keep tossing me out of here and you know what I mean? So then we were told to come back at 2 p.m. which is just hilarious because the court closes at like 4:30.
Yeah.
So there's no way I'm going to get
your trial.
There's no way. Yeah. It's not happening.
Yeah.
So I came back at 2 p.m. and lo and behold, there's a brand new prosecutor. So the one that I said her full name and I've already got her on film from their office, I guess she bowed out. And she basically disappeared and never came back. Never heard from her again. And I'm assuming that she began to sense that this was going to be a big embarrassment, losing to some buffoon who doesn't even have a lawyer.
Yeah.
Right. So what they did was they basically sent in what I call a rent-a-crown. It's a lawyer who they basically throw in. Yeah, they throw in at the last second. They go, okay, you want to play Crown Counsel? Okay, we'll throw you in. See how you do. So this guy, his name's Paul Jeffrey Cheeseman. He's an immigration lawyer here in Victoria, and they threw him in basically to go to bat and take the hit because they basically knew they were going to lose against me. So, yeah.
He's the cheese man.
The cheese man, yeah. So they got this immigration lawyer to fill in for Crown Counsel, and they knew they were going to lose. And it's funny, too, because this is one of the things that the courts try to do, is they always try to give a tactical advantage to the Crown.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure.
Because
they're all the Crown.
Well, here's the thing. They knew, like, this first prosecutor, her name's Kate Dutton, or as I call her, Katie Frances Dutton. She knew that she was going to lose and it was going to be embarrassing and all this stuff. So, and I think she felt intimidated. And so at the last, in the 11th hour, they throw in the rent-a-crown, Paul Cheeseman, the immigration lawyer. And the reason why they kept telling us to come back and come back at 11, come back at 2 is this new prosecutor now has time to review everything and kind of get a heads up and so he's not walking into this for the first time reading all the stuff. So, and that's another thing because at the end of that day, I only got 2 hours in front of a judge. And I'm thinking, okay, well, we're coming back tomorrow. We're going to really have to cram it in. And the judge said, I don't have time to hear this tomorrow. So you're going to have to come back tomorrow and we're going to fix a continuation date. No idea when that's going to be. And I'm thinking, we've had this trial set for 9 months, for 2 days, and the court could not meet their obligations. And I think this is why they did it, is to give this new Crown Counsel guy, the rent-a-crown, a chance to read up on, and get everything squared away.
And screw you at the same time.
Basically, yeah. So this trial started at 2 p.m. with this new rent-a-crown guy, Paul Jeffrey Cheeseman, and he starts the proceeding. He starts telling his the Crown side, and the witness gets up. The guy that I had the incident with, we'll refer to him as Mr. Pooh. So the trial starts. And Mr. Pooh tells his story about how I assaulted him and all that fantasy stuff. And then it's my turn to cross-examine him.
Allegedly assaulted him.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So I decided early on that I would get this on record, that how the Crown screwed up and disclosed this guy's address to me. This, they're portraying me as this angry, violent offender, right? So I decided early on that I was going to get this on the record. So the first question I asked Mr. Pooh under cross-examination was, so your address is Suite Doot on Doot Street? And everyone was like, so the Crown, Mr. Rent-A-Crown, obviously he objects, right? And I told the judge, I said, well, they disclosed that to me, so I can ask any questions about whatever they've disclosed to me, right? And the judge is like, well, yeah, but his address is irrelevant to the assault. And I'm like, okay, fair enough. So the Crown told the judge that it wasn't disclosed. And I told the judge, I said, it's right here in front of me.
Ooh.
Okay, so nothing, they didn't do anything. Nothing was, they didn't verify what I was saying.
Yeah.
And what they should have done was confiscated it.
Yeah.
They didn't even get up or come and look, and you know what I mean? They didn't even, it's the whole thing about not doing their homework. So I'm sitting there with his address right in front of me, and no one does anything about it whatsoever. And so I wanted to, sorry, I'm just on my notes here. So the judge said his address isn't relevant, just move on. And at that point, I actually turned to the Crown's witness, Mr. Pooh, and I said to him, I would encourage you to make a complaint to the Law Society about Crown Counsel disclosing your address to violent, angry, do-do-do. And the judge shut me down. Like, I didn't even get to spit it all out. I got about a quarter of the way into it. The judge was like, stop, shut up, don't say that, move on. I was just like, wow, like this guy should make a complaint about his address being disclosed. And so anyways, I don't think he did. So at that point I said to Mr. Pooh, I said, for the record, when I say your building, I'm referring to your address that was disclosed. And so I start asking him questions about, when you left your building, what direction did you head in? And he started to give me answers like where I lived at the time. And like, I started asking him a question. I said, when you came out of the area, the building that you lived in, and he interrupted me and he goes, lived. So he's basically making like a point to like say that like he doesn't actually live there anymore. Right? So the judge stops it, and the judge says, so the judge says to Mr. Pooh, the Crown's witness, the judge says, so I've gathered you've moved since then? Are you comfortable with talking about where you used to live? And he goes, yep. Sorry? Running
a little short on time.
Sure.
Yep.
So
we'll need a little bit more time to
we'll add a little.
Yeah. So I finished the cross-examination around 4 o'clock, which was 2 hours after this trial, this first day of a 2-day trial started. And then the judge said, we can't continue this trial tomorrow, but we can come back tomorrow. We can fix a continuation date, which I did. I came back the next day, and the Rent-A-Crown, Paul Cheeseman, he's already outside the courtroom, and he says, does this date work? And I'm like, no. He goes, well, we already worked it out.
What?
Yeah. So I haven't even made an appearance yet in front of the judge, and him and the judge have already fixed a continuation date, which doesn't work for me.
No.
So once I finally got into the courtroom, when we finally got the matter heard, I finally went in front of the judge and I said, I can't make this date. It doesn't work. Like I can't get this day off work this soon. And I objected. I said, I object. I said, if the courts can't obligate, the two-day trial dates that were set 9 months in advance, then this charge should be stayed. This whole proceeding should be dismissed. The judge is like, nope. We're going to continue on this day. If you don't show up, that's on you, right? So we set a date to come back in a week's time, and that's what I did. I came back in a week's time. And do we still got time? Or
yeah. Just keep going.
Yeah. So sorry, I just got to jump on my notes here. So
So they're forcing your hand, sort of thing.
basically, yeah. So a date that I can't make, they're saying, well, that's the date we made.
too bad
If you can't make
And we
it,
just made it up.
yeah,
We just made it up.
without me being in the
Yeah.
courtroom. So, and again, this is the courts again giving a tactical advantage to the Crown, because I've now spent an hour the previous day with their witness under cross-examination. So this Crown is now getting all kinds of ideas about what my side of the story is, because up until then I remained silent about the whole thing. I never told the police anything. So this Crown, this Rent-A-Crown, not only does he have, like, you know, the extra time from the previous day, but he's now got a week to sit down with all the paperwork and all the questions I asked and kind of dissect
Hone
and
his argument.
and dissect and defeat my side of the story, which is the, you know, the questions that I asked Mr. Pooh under cross-examination.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another way that the Crown, or that the court gave this Crown Counsel, this Rent-A-Crown, tactical advantage. He's now got a week to sit down with all the paperwork and all the questions I asked and go, I wonder if we could throw this theory out there, or maybe this theory, or
game it.
Let's throw some holes in Dan's story here, so we can get our win, right? Because that's what the justice system is all about. It's about winning. It's not about justice. It's about winning, right? So.
So true.
Yeah. So I got home from that we agreed to, well, I didn't agree. They decided we would come back in a week's time. And I got home, and as I got home, I realized, well, I can now go on the property where Mr. Pooh used to live and take photographs that can dispute what he's already testified to, which direction he went in and what he did, because he actually lied. And there was certain questions about the direction I asked him he went in. He either lied about it or just evaded answering the question directly. And I thought, I can now go on his property, because he no longer lives there,
discredit him as
and take pictures of the direction he said it's impossible. He said, I won't go into it, but it basically proves that he lied under oath and was evading the questions because he didn't want to lie under oath. So 3 hours later, I get a knock on my door, and it's the police. And they're there to arrest me because I breached my bail conditions. And I told them, I said, well, I couldn't have breached my bail conditions because this guy testified in court yesterday that he no longer lives there.
Yeah, and
so
the bail conditions were that where they live.
Well, the bail conditions said I cannot go where I know he lives. And when they gave that to me, I didn't know where he lives.
Yeah.
But 2-3 weeks later, they disclosed his address to me. So then I knew where he lived.
And you didn't go there.
And for 9 months, I didn't want to have anything to do with the guy. So now that the guy's testified under oath, and even the judge made me change my questions to, I couldn't say, where you live. The judge made me change my questions to where you lived at the time.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm under the impression that he no longer lives there, and I have every right to go on the property which he's moved and no longer lives, so I can take pictures as, I'm representing myself, and I can use that in my own defense, right? Because what else do I have to prove myself innocent?
Absolutely.
Right? If I don't prove I'm innocent, I'm going to be found guilty. So I got to take some, I got to be on my game.
You got to
here.
have some evidence.
Yeah. So I got to discredit their witness is what I got to do.
So you get arrested.
So I got arrested, and I told the police, I said, there's no way you can arrest me for breaching the bail conditions because he testified in court yesterday that he no longer lives there. And I was arrested on a Thursday. I spent that night, the afternoon and the night, in the Victoria Police Station cells. I was transported the next day to the Victoria Law Courts, which was a Thursday, and they gave me a bail hearing at 4:28 p.m. on Thursday. I've been sitting in the court cells all day in leg shackles, and I finally get in front of a judge for a bail hearing at 4:28. You know what this judge tells me? Court's about to close, and we're going to have to continue this on Monday. And the Crown says, well, we want to hold this guy because, I kind of got out of order with my notes here. So when I first got transported to court, I had to talk to duty counsel because I wanted duty counsel to straighten this out, because there's no way they can hold me or charge me with breaching the bail if this guy testified under oath that he no longer lives there. So duty counsel went to talk to the Crown, Paul Cheeseman, and Cheeseman said, That's not his recollection,
What?
right? But this is all being recorded. This is
Yeah.
all on the
This is
record.
transcripts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the duty counsel guy told me that not only do they want to hold you, and not only is that not the recollection of what happened, but they're going to add 2 indictable offenses onto your breach of bail, which are obstruction of justice and criminal harassment. So if they just wanted to hold me for breach of the bail conditions because it was a misunderstanding, and then they figured out, okay, the guy
Yeah.
did say this, and then they let me go, no problem.
But now
But
they've
remember-
turned it to a malicious prosecution.
Yeah, you know why? Because I went into their office and I filmed Kate Dutton,
Yeah.
right, in April 2016. And then also the first question that I asked, cross-examined Mr. Pooh on, was
Showed that
basically...
they broke the rules.
Yeah, so I made them look like a fool. And I was going to expose not only being prosecuted without any evidence, but I was also going to expose them disclosing a victim's address to a violent, angry offender. So they realized, well, we've got him in custody now. So let's trump up the charges,
Yeah.
right? So this Friday bail hearing, I finally get it, and I tell the judge, I've been in custody for 26 hours. And it's 4:28, and the judge is basically telling me, we're done here at court, like we're all going home. So the Crown says, well, we want to
Except
hold
for
this
you.
guy. Yeah. So the Crown says, we want to hold this guy for, we're adding on 2 indictable offenses. And the judge is like, yep, if you want to add on 2 indictable offenses, let's do it. Let's come back on Monday. Dan's going to spend the weekend in Wilkie. And I didn't know it at the time, but apparently they have brunch on Sunday mornings at Wilkie Road. Yeah.
That sounds nice.
Yeah, they have brunch. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So I come back on Monday. I've spent the weekend in prison. Here's a good part about that. I don't have a criminal record. According to the Corrections Act, they're not supposed to hold anyone without a criminal record with convicted criminals. And that's what they did.
Ah.
Yeah.
Oh.
So it was not fun being in prison, having no criminal record, and everyone around me is a convicted criminal.
Yeah.
Right.
Not fun. Just trust me. So we come back on Monday. And I finally get in, I speak to duty counsel, it's a different guy, and I tell him exactly what I told the duty counsel guy on Friday, which was, I couldn't have committed a breach of the bail conditions. And he gives me the same story. He's like, Crown says that's not the recollection. That's not what's on the recording from the first day of trial. And they want to hold you. You're going to be prosecuted for not only the breach of bail, but for criminal harassment and for obstruction of justice. And you are going to remain in prison until this is all concluded. And so let me just jump on my notes here real quick.
We got about 6 minutes left.
Yeah, for sure. So they basically told the judge that that's the way they want to go. And again, I told duty counsel, I said, if this is the way they're gonna go, when this is all blows over, I'm gonna charge them with criminal offenses. I'm gonna take it on myself.
Mm-hmm.
And didn't do any good. So the Crown misled the judge at that bail hearing. This is now my 5th day in custody, and this is my first actual bail hearing. And
Wow.
they're not actually supposed to hold you for more than 24 hours.
24 hours. That's the thing that
Yeah,
everybody
yeah.
says, right?
So
You
I
can't
went-
hold me for 24
Yeah,
hours.
so I went 5 days, and I have no criminal record, right? So you can see what they're doing here,
Yeah.
right?
Intimidating
Yeah,
you,
totally.
wasting
Yeah.
your time,
Yeah.
and trying to break your spirit.
Yeah. So after about a week or 10 days in prison, I was forced to hire a lawyer. And the lawyer told me that I was probably going to spend about 6 months in prison. That was going to cost me, to have this lawyer run this trial, was probably going to cost around $30,000.
What?
He was a high-priced lawyer. That meant to me that I was going to lose my house, lose my spouse, lose my car, which I bought brand new and had 5 payments left on it.
Oh.
I was going to lose my job, and I was going to lose my pets.
Yeah.
So the lawyer that I hired, he said he worked out a plea bargain with the Crown. Okay, you're going to love this, guys.
Okay.
So if I plead guilty to breach of bail, the 2 indictable offenses will be dropped, and I'll be released tomorrow, and I can go back to work. and I'll probably be on probation for like a year or two or whatever. Now, if I plead not guilty,
Yeah.
I am facing those 2 indictable offenses, and I will stay in prison until, who knows, 6 months, whatever it's going to be, even though I have no criminal record, and I will lose my home, and I will lose my spouse, and I will lose my car, and I will lose my job, and I will lose my pets. So what would you guys do?
Well, many people would just go with pleading guilty.
And that's what I had to do. I was literally forced
Yeah.
to plead guilty to something that I could not have done, and it's on the record.
Yeah.
And they've had ample opportunity to do their homework and go back and check and listen and see what actually happened and tell the truth. And their reckless disregard for the truth forced me to plead guilty to this.
Well, it's so good that you're here, so that people can hear this. I mean, you're not going to get justice with the Crown at this so far. However, the public are going to see this.
Yeah. If I could just finish
and if I'm looking at the comments as well, there's people backing you here too.
Yeah.
So I mean,
yeah.
You've got a couple minutes left, so you got to burn through these.
Yeah. So I'm almost done. So, I pled guilty. I was given 18 months probation with a condition that if I complete a violence prevention course or similar counseling, that probation can be revoked after 9 months. And this is me going on someone's property and taking a picture of their building. And now part of my probation, they're forcing me to take violence prevention counseling.
For taking pictures.
For taking a picture, okay? So I completed the violence prevention counseling, and I filed an application to a judge to revoke the probation and all the conditions after 9 months, and it was granted.
Yeah.
And shortly after that, in 2017, I went and I listened to the actual court proceedings, like the audio that was recorded. Sure enough, it all supports what I said all along, and that they chose to teach me a lesson instead of doing the right thing, and now they're paying for it.
So it's on record
Yep.
that he said he didn't
Mr. Pooh
and it's
was
on record that you weren't allowed to go to where you knew he lived.
Yep, that was my
And
condition.
you knew that he didn't live there.
After the first day of trial, after he testified multiple times, and I'm not even asking him I'm not continuing to ask
he
him.
interjected and said lived.
Yeah, so as a mid question about where you live, and lived, and so it's and like I said, the judge stopped me asking questions and made me change my questions to where you lived at the time. And the judge asked the guy, she said, I gather you've moved since then. Are you comfortable answering questions about where you lived at the time? And he goes, yep.
So what can the people watching, how can they get involved? I mean, this isn't over.
No, this isn't over. So what I did was I filed the 3 informations that Josh has in front of him. And
I'm looking at them here, and you got...
There's 3 Crown Counsels. There's Paul Jeffrey Cheeseman, there's Melissa R. Murray, and there's Lauren T. Phipps. And all 3 of those Crown Counsels, I've laid formal charges against them. They've all got 1 count of fabricating evidence. They've all got 1 count of attempt to pervert, defeat, and obstruct justice. And then they've also got, all of them have 1 count of criminal harassment.
Yeah.
I should also throw in there, I didn't bring the paperwork for it, but Mr. Pooh is also getting these 3 charges, as well
perjury,
as well as perjury.
Perjury.
Right.
Like
That's a separate offense.
That's the first thing that came to mind when you were telling us the story. Is like this guy perjured.
And public mischief, which is when you tell a police officer that an offense occurred that hasn't occurred.
That didn't happen.
Yeah.
Now, is there also malicious prosecution? Like, is that a criminal charge?
No, that's something you can sue for in Supreme Court.
That's like a civil matter.
In Supreme Court, yeah. But the thing is there's 4 elements to malicious prosecution.
All of this stems, it seems like, from ego of the lawyers, that how dare
it's retaliation.
A plebe like you, an unwashed mass citizen, challenge the court and these ivory tower, dark robes. So again, like we talk about a lot of conspiracy theory stuff and these dark people in dark robes doing dark things. Like, here's Dan as clear evidence. He didn't assault anyone. He's not a violent offender.
There's no evidence.
There's no evidence. There's actually evidence contrary to what they say. These judges, these prosecutors, and this citizen use the court as a weapon to harass and bully you into admitting guilt to something you didn't do.
Yep.
I am, more and more, this is not a justice system. It's a just us system. Imagine you've got to be in the club or it's not for you.
Imagine having no criminal record and having to stay in prison for 2 weeks.
For 2 weeks. That's insane. That's 2 weeks of your life that you're owed back.
And I'll never eat raw zucchini again as long as I live.
Jesus Christ. Well, I'm glad that you came on to discuss this, and it sounds like this is going to be a trilogy.
Yeah, so
we'll have to have you back to talk about
I think so.
What happened after this, because
and we should come into court with you.
That's what I was hoping.
We should definitely come into court.
So we do have a court date. It's set for August 30th. If you want more details, you can contact me through my Facebook page or YouTube or Freedom Free for All. The best way to find me on Facebook is Not So Silent. The little tag thing speaks for himself. The best way to find me on YouTube is just search in the top box there, VicPD.
Yeah, we got you on the screen right there. So
August 30th is the first court date for this, and that's basically not much going on. That first date, all we're going to do is set a date for a process hearing. But typically, I've been through this before with the police officer that assaulted me, and typically what they do is Crown shows up and they want to adjourn the matter for another 30 days. And they do this 3-4 times till they've got the paperwork set and they basically have dropped everything, and they send you a letter saying, they've dropped everything, thanks very much, have a nice day. So that's probably what's going to happen.
Well, Dan, we got to wrap up the show. Yeah. We will definitely have to have you back once this is, again, dealt with, because this is an important matter for Victoria. It is an important matter for Canada. We can't just let these lawyers, these liars, prosecute people maliciously, lie, and pervert justice. This is the clear, it's a clear definition of the perversion of justice.
We should show up in court, I think.
Yeah, August 30th.
August 30th. And it'll be downtown Victoria Courthouse?
Yep.
Do you have a court room number?
It's 103, but the thing is they're probably going to change all that. Once this becomes a little bit more public, they'll change it.
So will you be posting stuff on your YouTube channel about where supporters can go?
Yeah, I will.
Because it is important to have moral support in these kind of battles, because you are facing demons. And like I said earlier, when you named that person, they back down. And it's it's in all mythology that when you name a demon, you gain power over them, and they lose power over you. And it's almost like you sent this demon scurrying back to the abyss.
Yep, they couldn't handle it.
And they couldn't handle it because it's that age-old story, even Rumpelstiltskin, where nobody knew his name until they had his name, and then they had power. And the name, legal names, the names have power, and amen. Amen, Ra. Amen. Okay, well, we will be back next week. We're trying to get Josh Sigurdsson on as our guest, but he is going to be very busy in Las Vegas. If we can pull it off, we will. We wish him the best of luck and good journey.
Go, Josh!
We're looking forward to seeing his interview with the amazing Dr. Ron Paul. Ron Paul, the good doctor cures people of their socialism, which is it's a good thing. And I want to thank all of our viewers. I want to thank Adam, Jesse, and Paul for operating the show behind the scene. And thank Dan for coming on to the show and sharing your story.
Thanks, guys. Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
It can't be easy going through this, but it's good to know that you have people to support you.
And if I disappear next week, you'll know why.
Yeah.
We'll be back.
That's right. Yeah. Okay, well, until next week, remember 9/11 was an inside job. Be safe and be free.